Imagine waking up to news that the President of the United States just demanded the arrest of his own Attorney General. That is exactly the firestorm erupting right now. Todd Blanche still holds the job. Trump is publicly calling for his resignation and criminal charges. If this already has your attention, subscribe right now so you catch every update the second it drops. Reports from Monday make clear this was never a quiet policy disagreement behind closed doors. Sources say it crossed straight into open defiance. Trump answered with public, immediate, and brutal force. I have gone through every statement, every leaked memo, and every conflicting account. Here is the full picture. Quick background. Todd Blanche spent years as a federal prosecutor in the Southern District of New York before leaving in 2021. He built a white-collar defense practice, became Trump's personal attorney in 2023, and was sworn in as Attorney General in January 2025. The flashpoint arrived during Friday's cabinet meeting and went far beyond normal pushback. Fast timeline. Last Tuesday, the Justice Department announced it would not pursue certain investigations Trump wanted. Thursday, Trump attacked DOJ leadership on Truth Social. Friday morning, an emergency cabinet meeting was called. Blanche reportedly pushed back hard. By Friday afternoon, Trump was posting demands for Blanche's immediate resignation. Saturday, the calls for arrest escalated. That is the setup. Now the details. First report dropped Monday in the Washington Post. Sources describe Friday's closed-door exchange. The Attorney General directly refused a presidential directive and told Trump the request was legally impossible. That is the reporting, not my opinion. This was open defiance, not quiet disagreement. A second source, the New York Times Monday evening, adds more. Blanche told Trump in front of 7 cabinet members, "I won't do that. It violates federal law." The specific demand: Trump allegedly wanted the Justice Department to open criminal investigations into 4 federal judges who had ruled against him in recent cases. Put those 2 accounts together and you are looking at a constitutional crisis. I checked reporting from 5 different outlets. The pattern is consistent. Trump demanded prosecutions of judges. Blanche refused on constitutional grounds. Trump exploded. Multiple sources confirm every piece. What almost nobody is covering is the exact timeline of Trump's posts. Friday afternoon. At 4:23 p.m., the first post called Blanche a disaster. At 4:31 p.m., the second labeled him the worst Attorney General appointment ever made. At 4:47 p.m., the third ordered him to resign now. At 5:12 p.m., the fourth declared that if he would not resign, he should be arrested for dereliction of duty. Read that again. A sitting president calling for the arrest of his own Attorney General. 11 posts total inside 3 hours. The word arrest appeared in 4 of them. Treason in 3. Resign immediately in 8. That is not ordinary presidential criticism. That is scorched earth warfare. Fallout inside the administration hit fast. 3 DOJ officials publicly defended Blanche by Saturday morning. 2 cabinet members reportedly called Trump to speak on Blanche's behalf. The White House counsel's office spent the next 24 hours scrambling to contain the damage. There is more. A leaked memo from Friday's meeting, obtained by Politico, quotes Blanche saying, "Mr. President, the independence of the DOJ is not optional. It is constitutional. I cannot and will not prosecute your political enemies." Multiple sources confirmed the line. Blanche drew a boundary about law, not politics. The White House response came Saturday through the press secretary. The president has full authority to direct the Department of Justice and expects his cabinet to follow lawful orders. The key word is lawful. Blanche's position is that the orders were not lawful. Sunday brought escalation. Trump allies in Congress announced they are drafting articles demanding Blanche's removal. A Florida senator said he is preparing legislation that would let the president fire the Attorney General without cause. Current law makes that difficult, but they are trying to rewrite it. The Republican caucus is already split. Sunday afternoon, 12 Republican senators issued a joint statement supporting Blanche and DOJ independence. That is significant. Republicans breaking from Trump in public. At the same time, 23 House Republicans signed a letter backing Trump's view that the Attorney General serves at the pleasure of the president and must execute his agenda. The party is fracturing in real time. Blanche himself issued one statement Saturday evening through the DOJ press office. "I serve the Constitution and the rule of law. I will continue to do so as long as I hold this office." 31 words. No resignation, no apology, no retreat. He has not spoken publicly since. If this breakdown is useful to you, hit like so the algorithm knows these stories matter. Fairness requires looking at the other side. Trump supporters argue the Attorney General works for the president and must carry out the president's law enforcement priorities. Some of that argument holds weight. First, the president is the chief executive. Article 2 gives him authority over every executive branch agency, including the Justice Department. Second, if an attorney general will not execute the president's agenda, the president has every right to demand resignation or find someone who will. Constitutional attorney Mike Davis put it bluntly, the AG does not get to decide which presidential directives to follow. That is insubordination. I do not agree with every part of it, but the point is not empty. The president appoints the attorney general specifically to carry out his administration's law enforcement vision. Elections have consequences. Trump won on a platform of prosecuting corruption. His supporters say that includes corrupt judges. Even legal scholar John Yoo acknowledges that presidential control of prosecutorial discretion has historical precedent. I am not here to declare a winner. The pro-Trump side rests on executive power theory. Every administration directs DOJ priorities. Obama focused on civil rights enforcement. Trump's first term prioritized immigration. Biden emphasized voting rights. That is normal. Trump's defenders say prosecuting judges who ruled unlawfully is simply another priority. The counter-argument is that those judges ruled against Trump personally, making the demand self-interested rather than policy-driven. Where is the line? Trump's base sees a larger pattern, bureaucrats and appointees refusing to implement the elected president's agenda. Their evidence stretches back to the first term, when multiple cabinet officials resigned rather than carry out Trump's directives, Defense Secretary, Homeland Security Secretary, and others. Now it is his own attorney general. From their perspective, the administrative state is blocking the will of the voters. Another angle matters. If unelected officials can simply refuse presidential orders they dislike, does the president actually run the executive branch? Former Trump Attorney General Matt Whitaker noted that an AG who will not follow the president should resign rather than force a confrontation. That is a fair observation. Both things can be true at once. Blanche may be defending constitutional principles. The evidence suggests he is, and he may also be overstepping by substituting his judgment for the elected president's. Trump's supporters genuinely believe that. What the public record shows is clear. Trump demanded prosecutions, Blanche refused, and we are now in uncharted constitutional territory. Whether this is a crisis of executive power or a defense of judicial independence is for you to decide. The conflict itself is real. This did not appear out of thin air. Quick backstory. Months ago, Blanche was confirmed after a contentious fight. Some senators worried about his loyalty to Trump given their former attorney-client relationship. Weeks earlier, Trump had publicly said he wanted an attorney general who would fight and not be weak like the first-term version. Days after confirmation, Blanche gave a speech stressing DOJ independence and nonpartisan prosecution. A former Trump advisor told reporters on the record that Trump was going to regret choosing someone with a spine. What happened next followed a pattern. During his tenure, Blanche declined to investigate Trump's 2024 election opponents without evidence. He refused to reopen cases against Hillary Clinton. He pushed back on demands to prosecute media figures, citing lack of evidence or constitutional concerns every time, until this demand became the breaking point. Look at Blanche's background. He spent 8 years as a prosecutor handling mob cases, public corruption, and high-stakes trials. He built a career going where the evidence led, not where politics pointed. That same man takes the attorney general job under Trump, and somehow people expected him to turn into a political enforcer. It never tracked. Something fundamental has not changed. Blanche still sees himself as a prosecutor, not a political operative. Trump sees the attorney general as part of his personal team. Those two views cannot coexist. See where this is heading? Like this video if you want the full picture, not just the headlines. Friday at 3:45 p.m. is when the confrontation peaked. According to sources in the room, Trump stood up mid-meeting, pointed at Blanche, and said 5 words, "You're done. Get out now." The room went silent. Blanche reportedly stayed seated and answered that he serves at the pleasure of the president, but will not be intimidated into violating his oath. Trump repeated the demand to leave. Blanche stood, gathered his materials, and walked out. 47 seconds of confrontation. What almost everyone missed is what happened next. White House counsel tried to intervene and told Trump he cannot actually fire the attorney general without cause under current statutes. Trump reportedly answered, "Then I'll find another way." 17 minutes later, the Truth Social posts began. That was not reactive anger. That was the plan. If he cannot fire Blanche legally, destroy him publicly until he quits. You can see it in the pattern of the posts. Each one escalated. Each one grew more personal. By the sixth post, Trump was calling for a criminal investigation of Blanche himself for obstruction of the president's duties. The irony is sharp. Blanche will not prosecute judges, so Trump wants Blanche prosecuted. Senate Republicans noticed within 2 hours. Calls started between senior senators and the White House chief of staff. The message was clear: back off or lose the caucus. Trump did not back off. By Saturday morning, the Republican Party began choosing sides. Do not go anywhere. What comes next changes the entire picture. What are the experts saying? Former Obama Attorney General Eric Holder, who served 6 years, stated that DOJ independence is not negotiable, and Blanche is right to resist. In plain English, this is a red line. Conservative legal scholar Jonathan Turley said that while he understands presidential frustration, prosecuting judges for their rulings would destroy separation of powers. Even Trump-friendly legal scholars are uncomfortable. Former Trump Attorney General Bill Barr added that there are limits to what a president can ask the Justice Department to do. When your own former AG says you have gone too far, pay attention. Disagreement remains over the remedy. Trump allies say if Blanche will not comply, he should resign and let Trump appoint someone who will. DOJ veterans say Blanche has a duty to stay and prevent abuse of power. Former Deputy Attorney General under Bush, Larry Thompson, put it this way: an Attorney General's oath is to the Constitution first and the President second. Blanche has it right. That is the key distinction. Who does the Attorney General serve? Trump says the President who appointed him. DOJ tradition says the law and the Constitution. Former Assistant Attorney General under Reagan, Charles Cooper, noted that using the Justice Department to prosecute judges over their rulings would be an impeachable abuse of power. Impeachment is the real stakes. If Trump forces the issue and Blanche complies, Trump could face impeachment for obstruction. If Blanche refuses and is fired or forced out, a constitutional crisis follows. Consensus among legal experts is that there is no good outcome. Someone loses badly. The real question is whether the rule of law survives the collision. Former Solicitor General Neil Katyal described it as a stress test of constitutional norms in real time. That is where the professionals land. This is not about Republican versus Democrat. It is about whether the Justice Department can be weaponized against judges. Every legal expert I have seen left and right says that is a line you do not cross. Trump is crossing it anyway. If this helps you understand what is at stake, hit like. It matters. Why should ordinary people care? Real talk about how this reaches actual lives. Money is involved. If you have any interaction with federal courts, pay attention. When the executive branch threatens judges with prosecution for their rulings, judicial independence collapses. Judges who fear retaliation start ruling based on politics, not law. You are in a lawsuit against a government agency. Good luck getting a fair hearing if the judge knows that ruling against the government could trigger an investigation. That is how the system works once courts are no longer independent. Informed people are already checking which judges are handling their cases and whether those judges have ruled against the administration. That is not advice, just what I am seeing. This sets a precedent. Next time you are in federal court for anything, tax dispute, employment case, whatever, the judge's independence matters. Quick example: you sue the IRS for wrongful collection and the judge rules in your favor. Under this precedent, could that judge face investigation for alleged bias against the executive branch? It sounds extreme. That is the road we are on. Precedents work exactly that way. If a president can threaten prosecution of judges, every future president will. Who is affected right now? All 677 sitting federal judges are watching. 43 of them currently have cases involving Trump or his administration on their dockets. Every one of them is wondering whether their rulings could make them targets. The effect hits immediately. Judges may start ruling defensively, avoiding controversial decisions, deferring to executive power even when the law does not support it. Whether you support Trump or oppose him, judicial independence protects everyone. The uncomfortable part nobody wants to say out loud. If Trump succeeds in forcing Blanche out and installs a compliant attorney general who will prosecute judges, we enter authoritarian territory. That is not hyperbole. That is the definition. When the executive controls the courts through the threat of prosecution, separation of powers is dead. If you care about limited government, this should terrify you regardless of party. Constitutional scholars across the spectrum are saying exactly that. Practical steps informed people are taking: watching which senators support Blanche versus Trump. That tells you who actually believes in institutional constraints. Reviewing their own interactions with federal agencies in case this escalates. Asking themselves, if my case goes to federal court, can I still expect impartial justice? Those are real questions. This is not theoretical. You get audited by the IRS, challenge it in tax court, and the judge rules for you. Is that judge now at risk? You are in a criminal trial, and a federal judge suppresses evidence against you. Does that judge face retaliation? These are not far-fetched scenarios. They are the next ones. If Trump can threaten judges over rulings, every interaction with federal courts changes. Most people eventually deal with federal systems, Social Security appeals, immigration matters, tax disputes, federal employment cases. The judges who hear those cases need to be free from political pressure. That is what is at stake, not some abstract constitutional principle, but your ability to get fair treatment when you are up against the government. That matters. How did Blanche respond after Friday? Strategically and honestly. Saturday evening came that single 31-word statement through the DOJ, no elaboration, no press conference, no interviews. But Sunday brought action. According to reports, Blanche held conference calls with all 94 U.S. attorneys across the country. The message: continue operating independently, follow the law and the facts. That was reassurance to the field that the Justice Department would not become a political weapon. Smart move. Monday morning, a different approach. 73 career DOJ officials signed an internal letter supporting Blanche and DOJ independence. It leaked to the press within 2 hours. That was not an accident. That was strategy, showing that public support exists inside the department. Trump's response, posted Monday afternoon: the deep state reveals itself. Clean house at DOJ coming soon. The threat is clear: fire everyone who supported Blanche. There is a problem. Career DOJ officials have civil service protections. They cannot simply be fired for political reasons. Trump would have to go through formal processes that take time and invite legal fights. Meanwhile, the news cycle keeps amplifying the conflict. Republican senators are getting hammered by constituents on both sides. Some hear, stand with Trump, fire Blanche. Others hear, protect the rule of law, support Blanche. Party leadership is trying to find middle ground. Good luck with that. This morning brought a new development. The House Judiciary Committee announced emergency hearings for next week. Blanche was invited to testify, and he accepted. That means this goes public in a big way: televised testimony, questions under oath, Blanche explaining exactly what Trump asked him to do and why he refused. Trump's team immediately called it a show trial by never-Trump Republicans. The problem is that the Judiciary Committee is Republican-controlled. Trump is attacking his own party. This is not cooling down. It is heating up. The White House has not backed off the resignation demand. Blanche has not indicated any intention to comply. We have a stalemate with constitutional implications. What is still unclear? First, whether Trump will actually try to fire Blanche despite the legal constraints. Second, how many Senate Republicans would support removal versus oppose it? Coming dates to watch. House Judiciary hearing scheduled for Monday, July 27th at 10 a.m. Blanche is expected to testify for multiple hours. Senate Republicans are holding a private caucus meeting Wednesday to discuss their position. The White House is reportedly interviewing potential replacement attorneys general, though it cannot appoint anyone until Blanche resigns or is removed. Monday, July 27th is the date that matters most. Blanche's public testimony will either rally support or hand Trump the ammunition to force him out. Also, watch Wednesday, July 22nd, tomorrow, when the DOJ Inspector General is reportedly releasing a statement on whether the IG office will investigate the Friday confrontation. If the Inspector General opens an investigation into whether Trump attempted to corrupt the Justice Department, the crisis grows larger. Then there is the question almost nobody is asking yet. What happens if Trump fires Blanche unlawfully and Blanche refuses to leave? Two people claiming to be attorney general sounds absurd, yet constitutional scholars say it is possible. Saturday Night Massacre parallels are everywhere. When Nixon fired the attorney general and the deputy attorney general in 1973 for refusing to fire the special prosecutor, it triggered impeachment proceedings. We could be heading there again. We should know more after Monday's testimony. Subscribe so you get the full update the moment it drops. Where we stand right now. Blanche is still serving as attorney general. Trump is demanding resignation. The Republican Party is splitting. A constitutional crisis is unfolding. Scheduled. Wednesday, July 22nd, DOJ IG expected statement. Monday, July 27th, House Judiciary hearing with Blanche testimony. Wednesday, July 29th, Senate caucus meeting on the AG situation. Friday, July 31st, deadline some Trump allies have set for Blanche to resign voluntarily. That deadline is not public yet. Behind closed doors, Senate Republicans are taking vote counts for supporting or opposing Blanche's removal. Trump's position is increasingly isolated but still defiant. Even some allies are saying privately that he overstepped, according to multiple reports, while publicly staying loyal. Blanche's support is growing inside the legal community and mixed in the political world. DOJ morale is reportedly strong, career staff are rallying around him, while some political appointees are quietly updating resumes. The legal community is watching this as a defining moment. If a former prosecutor who became attorney general cannot stand up to presidential pressure to break the law, the position itself becomes meaningless. The clock is running. Trump wants Blanche gone now. Blanche is not leaving. Something breaks soon. That is where we are. Todd Blanche, former prosecutor, Trump's attorney general, now in open defiance of the president who appointed him. Surface reading is simple. The AG will not prosecute judges and the president demands it. Underneath sits a larger question, whether DOJ independence is real or just a norm that collapses under pressure. Every administration tests it. This one is breaking it. What I will be watching is Monday's testimony. If Blanche lays out exactly what Trump demanded under oath on camera, spinning becomes impossible. Either he is lying and commits perjury, or he is telling the truth, and Trump demanded something clearly illegal. There is no middle ground. The story is not over. It is still developing. Subscribe for the full picture, not just the headlines. Monday's hearing will be historic. The fallout will be even more so. When it happens, I will break it down.